it's not always giving you issues, but you just have to be more mindful and careful with it, which adds to the challenge. Let's say you have a budget sub $100,000, maybe closer to $80,000 or $90,000. Are you better off going with a Lotus Evora GT or something from Stuttgart? When these were new, MSRP was right around $100,000, depending on how you optioned it, even more. And I think at that price point also years ago, prior to the level of inflation that we have, it was harder to make that justification. And I think that's part of the reason why these cars didn't sell well. And we'll cover those reasons why when we go for a drive. But nowadays, when we're below $100,000, and as cars are getting more modern and insulated and numb, does the Evora GT still stand out? Or again, are you better off getting something from Porsche? We're powered by the 3.5 liter V6 from Toyota, the 2GR FE engine. It's a 24 valve, water cooled, all aluminum engine, but Lotus adds an Edelbrock supercharger to it. We're now making 416 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. That's made it to a 6-speed manual transmission. We have a Torsen LSD, and this one has the optional carbon pack. As you can see, we have carbon fiber over here on the rear spoiler, on the roof, also carbon rear bumper and diffuser, as well as on the front. The Evora GT, of course, being lighter than the Emira, and with the lightweight options, we're just a little bit over 3,000 pounds. And we have forged aluminum wheels, 19-inch in the front and 20s in the rear. It's a nice 10-spoke design, and we have a 245 front and 295 rear section width to the Michelin PS4S rubber. The owner of it just got this, and we know that the exhaust is modified, but beyond that, it looks to be pretty stock. And getting into the interior, this is actually largely why people critique this car for the price point. Also have to do this whole immobilizer step, which just makes the car... Oops, I guess I locked it. Let's do that one more time. Just makes it feel like a 90s tuner car. There we go. We were hanging out, taking turns driving this, and when the owner wasn't around, the alarm was going off. People couldn't figure out how to fix it. But yeah, the interior, I mean, you have Alcantara, which is really nice. These seats are definitely better than my Lotus Emira seats. You sit a little bit lower, you have more support. The actual height isn't really that different. It's maybe not even a full inch, but it's more that I sit in the seat rather than on top of the seat. The steering wheel here, Alcantara, Alpine head unit that looks aftermarket even though it's factory, and the HVAC here, I think it's actually kind of unique even though it doesn't feel or look that nice with the plastic and such. This is the main complaint people had with the Evora, which is that the interior is just woefully inadequate for a car at or above 100K, but now on the used market, 80 to 90K, does it make more sense? So why did we stop? Why did we get cut off with a soft limiter at 67, 6800? Because I didn't enable sport mode, which now opened the exhaust valve, raises the red line to 7. One of the best sounding V6s. Oh, I love the way Lotuses drive. Truly, the driver enthusiast choice. Heel toe, no issues so far with the throttle response. That is one of my biggest gripes I have with this car. When you're up in the rev range, the throttle response is natural, no issues. But look what happens when we go down fifth now, 2000 RPM. There was nothing. I gave it a blip. You could barely hear it, but it's sluggish. Right there. Now you see that when I go off the clutch, it pulls the revs up. So for whatever reason, the throttle response at lower revs is incredibly sluggish, almost non-existent. So that now, there, that was like me really getting into it. You shouldn't need such a variation in terms of the throttle response at low to high RPM. You shouldn't need to load the throttle extra hard like that. But that is really just one of the bigger issues from a driving perspective of this car. And in the grand scheme of things, when you're driving the car hard, you don't really face that. Which means that just about everything else is quite strong. A car weighing just a hair over 3,000 pounds with more than 400 horsepower, a more than healthy power to weight ratio there. tried to double clutch it there, sluggish throttle response, under revved it. Now, interestingly, you do feel, you know, the Evora GT, more so than the Emira, is much more planted, right? It's a sportier car. My Emira has sport suspension, but it's still far softer than this. And Lotus, they've done such a brilliant job tuning the suspension on all their cars because, you know, bumpy British back roads, that's one of their specialties. And as a result, this rides incredibly well, great compliance, great damping quality, but you do notice a bit more body motion. Both the Evora GT and the Emira, which they say has a totally new, you know, aluminum extrusion bonded chassis, is still largely based on this that's just been revised. And they actually purposely don't include much anti-squat geometry. And why is that? You may think, well, you can get better body control by doing so. Again, under the throttle. Well, the reason is that you actually sacrifice some compliance and ride quality. And the decision that Lotus made was that they want to prioritize and emphasize the ride quality more so than the overall body control. And it is a different flavor, and it's not necessarily a bad flavor, because what you experience is as you drive the cars, you feel, you know, that aluminum chassis being more rigid, and you can feel the suspension, each corner move independently in a way that is quite enjoyable, you know, especially on canyon and back roads that are not going to be smooth like a racetrack. You can really feel the car work with you, and a rigid chassis with supple suspension adds to that overall engagement and communication. And speaking of communication, the steering on these is really excellent. Now, every example of Lotus Emira, Lotus Evora that I've driven has slightly different steering feedback, and you know, some could argue that it's due to Lotus QC. I don't think so. I think it's more so just the overall setup of the car in terms of, you know, the tires you're using, the alignment. This is not a bad example. It's not the best Emira or Evora steering rack that I felt though, but it's nice and sharp, not overly quick, a nice natural speed to the ratio so you can really place the car precisely. You have that pretty good visibility as well, being mid-engine, but that's really the thing that this has over Porsche products like the Cayman. You don't get the same level of communication. Sure, the fit and finish, the interior, the resale, if you are a flex enthusiast, you care more about the brand, then Porsche is a much more prestigious brand than Lotus. But for driving, especially at this price point, I mean, these are now cheaper than a Cayman GTS 4.0. You're getting such a pure and focused driving experience, and if you are willing to compromise on the interior, on the little Lotus quirks, and it is a small volume British sports car, you're not going to have the same fit and finish and reliability and et cetera, as something from the Germans. Rather, I shouldn't say the Germans, because with BMW and Mercedes sometimes there are reliability issues, but from Porsche, then, you know, I think this car is very well suited for the person who cares about driving above all else. And, you know, compared to my Emira, looking at this from just a driving experience and driving pleasure perspective, I think it has the Emira beat in a lot of ways. It is sharper, it is more responsive, it's lighter weight. But the Emira makes up for it by having a far better interior, still giving you incredible communication. Not quite as sharp. I think the Emira actually excels as a road car. I think the Evora GT does great on the road as well, but is also more capable on track. It feels light on its toes, willing to change direction, double wishbone in all four corners, so you get that dynamic camber change that you don't get in something like a Porsche Cayman, which is strut all around. And there are inherent limitations there. When you're driving 6 or 7 tenths on the canyons, not a big deal, but when you get to the racetrack, you definitely notice that. And you can watch my Cayman GT4, GT4 RS, Cayman GTS reviews, all on this channel, because when you go hard enough, you do feel that limitation. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that the input quality, right, the way a car drives is not just the power, the weight, the chassis tuning, it's also the input tuning. So the steering here, hydraulic, nice medium weight, nice medium ratio as well, good feedback. the other inputs, like the transmission, it is definitely refined and improved in the Emira. It's a cable linkage that it just feels a little bit sloppy at times. Going gate to gate, it's not quite as crisp and precise as you want. You have to work around it at times, and I think that actually adds to the joy, because in my Emira, as an example, going into second, I oftentimes need to double clutch to get it perfectly smooth. Just doing a regular rev match isn't always, the transmission doesn't always want to work with me. And if you enjoy mastering the craft, doing things like double clutch heel toes, as an example, like that for example, then you're not going to mind a slightly difficult transmission that sometimes feels like it has a mind of its own. It's not always giving you issues, but you just have to be more mindful and careful with it, which adds to the challenge. Not as slick and natural, and don't have to think about it like a Porsche Cayman GTS, as an example. Now, the other thing is the brake tuning. So the brake pedal does require a good amount of travel, and I actually prefer Porsche brakes because, I mean, there we go. Like, I gave it a blip, but nothing happened. So the Porsche brakes, they're very firm, and there's less travel, and you feel more immediacy with the braking force as you get into the pedal. Whereas here, you have to really give it more travel, and it's more sensitive to how much pressure you give it, and it's going to move more. Which means that if you heel toe, if you're not used to this car, it can be a little bit jerky. You need to be mindful to keep your right foot on the brake pedal very well positioned to have a smooth heel toe and not be jerky. It's not a big deal by any means. Like, as you can see, I'm able to heel toe this without issue. It just, for some people, may have a slight learning curve, at least at the beginning. And don't get me wrong, I love modern Porsches. I think the GTS 4.0 is an excellent car. That was the direct competitor to the Lotus Emira that I was considering, as well as the GT4, although that's not a direct competitor. You could consider this to maybe a 981 GT4, but the 981 GT4 held its value much better than the Evora GT. And again, it depends on what you're optimizing for. I do think that with the higher red line here at 7,000 versus in my Emira 6,800, I don't feel the same kind of tease and issue of feeling like the red line is too low. And compared to the offerings from Porsche, I'm getting far more communication and feel and drama and excitement when I'm driving. But yeah, I don't have the same fit and finish. I don't have the same solidity to some of the inputs. The transmission and the brake pedal, as an example, here I don't think they're anywhere near as good as the equivalent Porsche product. But again, it depends on what you're optimizing for. And on the used market today, going for 80 to 90K, I think the Evora GT might be one of the best driving experiences that you can have, especially mid-engine rear-wheel drive. No compromise in terms of suspension, double wishbone, plenty of power, low enough weight, meaning that you're not compromising ride quality, so it's nice on both the street and the track. These cars are already so appreciated by driving enthusiasts, and as the years go on, as cars get more numb, and sure, they have more power, but you know, they're more insulated and less emotional, I think we're going to look back very fondly on the Lotus Evora GT. My friends, let me know what you think with a comment down below. Big shout out to the owner Avi for letting me review his Evora GT. And if you want your car reviewed, visit us on jubbalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in that next one.